I'll go ahead and speak.
Okay.
My year, I was the president in 2016, and it was a pretty low-key year. I think probably the biggest thing is we were all voting on the Heck Andrews House. And I'll never forget that the majority of our members for Raleigh Regional Association of Realtors was somewhat opposed to us going forward with the Heck Andrews House based on the cost and is it really what good use of our members' money. But ultimately, the vote went the other way, and we have the Heck Andrews House today, and it is a beautiful house, and it is a great display of us believing in what we believe in, and that's home ownership. Other than that, it was a pretty quiet year.
Certainly was a controversial thing, especially at the state level, that we went forward with that. I think probably as I look back on my presidential year, which was 2015, just prior to you, I would say that it was the adjusting to new leadership, although Mollie got the bailiwick on that one as far as new leadership is concerned when we had Tessa come on board with us. But I think it was just the adjustment of having someone who was so forward-thinking and progressive as far as our involvement with NAR. So I would say that probably 2014 and 15 were our years where we really focused more on getting involved at the NAR level because Tessa was really focused on that. While we had people who were involved at the NAR level, I would say that that was probably our focus more on being more involved and having more people volunteer for national committees, leadership as far as that avenue or that arena of our involvement. So
Right.
I think I would agree. I was going to say during 2014, which was my year as president, that was definitely a transition year to a new style of leadership. We had Ray Larcher, and he was great, and just had a totally different style from Tessa when she came in.
yeah, we referred to him as Daddy Ray.
And right,
Daddy
Right.
Ray.
Daddy Ray, Mama Harriette. We just had a different style of leadership, and it was a very dynamic and forward-thinking, as you said, style. And so we had a lot of changes, but it was an exciting year because we did make a lot of changes that I think were changes for the better for our association. That kind of took us to the next level.
Yeah. And then we had Tessa, who was, you mentioned Ray, that, he kind of took us along, but Tessa was such fast pace. But I think she was the right person at the right time
Right.
to take us to that next level. It wasn't that anything was negative or bad before.
no,
It was actually doing very well, but Tessa did catapult us to that. So it was exciting to be a part of that.
I was just very thankful that we were in leadership before COVID.
That's right.
Yes.
You have to feel for Brett and
Yes.
and Lewis, for example.
Right,
They had a tough time, but made the most of it.
Right.
I hate to keep saying this, but I had a fairly easy year because we made a lot of changes, but it was nothing controversial. It was nothing earth-shattering. I think the Heck Andrews House was probably the biggest thing that was controversial, but everything else was just kind of putting things in place, all the things that Tessa wanted to do to kind of put us on the national level, like getting a global committee, and just kind of homing on all the different committees that we had in the association.
So did the global committee, was that established?
We had the international committee
Okay.
before that, and it was shortly after that we changed to global. And we all know what the global committee has done on a national level here. They've done some pretty amazing things to put us on the map from recognition from NAR.
Right.
It's kind of like childbirth. You don't remember the bad things. I mean, you
Right.
tend to focus on the good, and I think we had a whole lot more good than bad, as we usually do.
Right.
But there's always going to be some controversy and some things that are issues at the time. But there's nothing that really stands out to me as something that was just a terrible experience during my tenure.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think that one of the things that in our tenure of leadership is we really trusted staff to just move us forward, and realized that our time was volunteer time, but we really depended on staff to take us forward. And I don't remember anything in my presidential years being controversial or difficult or something that I was just like, ugh,
Right.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great year. I thought that all the years leading up to and including my presidential and my past president's year were great years, and something that I was very proud of that we as an association were able to accomplish and move forward like we did,
Mhm.
particularly looking at, I think ASA, was ASA president of NCR? What year was
Yes,
he?
he was
2013.
2013.
Yes.
So he was already president. You know, just enjoying our involvement at the state level, but more importantly, moving forward and progressing as far as our involvement because of Tessa's encouragement,
Right.
you know, at the national level. Well, I'm going to start this one because this is near and dear to my heart, and I see so many people who make the decision to get involved because of the accolades that they can receive. Anybody that comes to me and says, I'm thinking about getting involved at a higher level, I'm always asking the question, why? Why do you want to get involved at a higher level? Because you really got to care about the association, the direction that the association is going, and feel that you can be a catalyst in that direction that the association is going in. If you're getting in it for the glory and look at me, instead of it coming from the heart because you care about the association and you care about the direction and you feel that you can make a difference, then go for it. I'll help you every step of the way that I can possibly help you. Enough said. I'll hush at that.
I think one of the greatest things is just like our business. Being in real estate, relationships are the key to success. And I think building the relationships within the realtor community has been huge. I mean, you are two of my greatest successes because we became friends through this association. And I think that has just been the greatest reward that has been ongoing. I would say that just the power of the relationships is a huge thing that you build here. And the education and just the value that you gain from being a member of the association is also a huge positive.
Yeah, I think so many of our members just don't even know what the association offers.
You
They
both
just-
said exactly what I was thinking.
They have no idea.
Right. Actually, I was speaking with a relatively new member just last week, and they said they had no idea all the value that is provided here. And I think a majority of realtors aren't here because they truly don't know. But once they see the value, they appreciate it. And Mollie, you said it's all about the relationships. You know, we all work for different companies and are all very diverse and eclectic ourselves, but it's always wonderful for us to come together and work on things together and accomplish things and learn from each other. So, because I value those relationships more than anything. So, and that's one of the reasons I think all of us have continued to stay involved on whatever level that may be. So,
You know, one of my passions has always been our Leadership Academy, and I honestly think that the Leadership Academy has been so responsible for our members and those who have been involved with the Leadership Academy and to learn more about what the association does provide and how they can get involved.
I'm exactly guilty of that. I was a realtor for 10 years, had a fairly successful business, and all I thought was it's a place that I write my annual dues to, and that's it. It's a building down in Cary somewhere. But when I got involved with the Leadership Academy, that opened my eyes, and at that time I joined government affairs, and then you join this committee, the finance committee, you just kind of grow from there. But it really does open your eyes to what is really being offered here. So.
And honestly, with the Leadership Academy, I can remember when Carolyn Kasdorf came to me and said, here's what I'm thinking about doing, and would you be on the committee? And I was like, sure,
Right.
you know, I'll raise my hand one more time. And so honestly, that was something that came out of her leadership that I think has just been, I just don't think you can replace what's happened
I agree.
with our academy and,
I agree.
you know, people becoming involved and understanding what the association offers.
Right.
One piece of feedback they'll get time and time again from members is how professional development, things like Leadership Academy and our educational program have been a real benefit to the members. Can any of you, Leadership Academy aside, are there any other examples of that they think like this really helps a realtor in their business and as an individual.
Yeah, I can speak to that. I'll never forget Asa Fleming coming to me and saying, Mark, you should get involved with government affairs. And I looked at Asa square and I said, Asa, I detest politics. I want nothing to do with it. It does not appeal to me one little bit. He said, no, just come join me. So I learned about it. It wasn't just about politics. It was about education. It was about transportation. So to me, it helped learn about our economy, our local economy, which in turn made me a better agent, a more knowledgeable agent, and it wasn't just about the politics. So there's so much, I mean, we can go on and on about all the different committees, but that was one big thing for me that kind of opened my eyes to what is here.
You know, I'm going to reflect back on one of the other questions because of my involvement in several different committees, but bylaws committee I've been involved with professional standards for years and years. As a matter of fact, that was my first venture into being involved with the association, was to get on the grievance committee and then ultimately end up on the professional standards committee, but the bylaws committee. So one of the pain points, if you will, is when Tessa came on board, we had not had a review of our bylaws in years, and we thought that we were gonna venture into something that was going to take 2 or 3 months.
I was on that committee.
And reviewing,
I remember it.
Yes.
and reviewing our bylaws, and it took 2 years for us to go through the entire bylaws and update our bylaws to make them match what actual practices were that were happening. So while that was a pain point, that was also something that really opened my eyes as to how important having a playbook, if you will,
Right.
as to how we run the association, and making sure that the playbook and the being the bylaws and the policies kind of matched what we thought we were doing, you know. And so that was a pain point, but also something that was very enlightening to go through that whole process, which did take a little while. Sorry.
That's right, because I came in at the tail end of that. So.
I remember.
Yeah. I remember Asa being very involved with affordable housing, and although it's a tough subject to breach, and it's a tough challenge to make housing affordable for everyone. So especially in a vibrant area like ours, but I think that's one area, especially when it was government affairs at that time, where Asa was very kind of leading the way on trying to find more affordable housing options available to others.
I've been involved with a lot of committees, but I think RPAC, Realtors Political Action Committee, Tessa really helped us to focus on that as well. In my president-elect year, I was Mollie's president-elect, I was chair of the RPAC committee that year, and for the first time ever, Raleigh Regional met their RPAC goal. Now it was much, much lower than where we are right now, so, because man, it's really up there. And then understanding, more importantly, what our RPAC dollars went
Right.
to protect. I think that was really when my awareness of private property rights and what our dollars that we contributed to really meant in the public being able to own homes to protect their private property rights and what all that meant. Because I remember Wake County tried to sneak in a transfer tax, and as a matter of fact, actually put a transfer tax in 1 year. This was prior to my president-elect's year, but you know, we really fought hard to get that overturned. There were several other things that happened at the state level with our RPAC dollars as well. So that involvement really was key for me.
I think you were part of setting a trend going forward, that RPAC has always been a very vibrant and important part of everyone here to try and promote that as we go on. So, and we had a little fun along the way.
We did.
We had some fun events
did.
to raise money, and you know, so it was good.
And like you said, the Government Affairs Committee just is so instrumental in helping people. It's not all politics. I mean,
Right.
the RPAC's a little more politics, but Government Affairs touches on so many levels, and we had a lot of things about private roads and just all kinds of things that came up that it really helped us to understand those better and helped us to do our jobs better
Right.
as real estate agents.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to somebody on that private road thing with Brenda Carroll. Brenda was very, very instrumental in working through the Government Affairs Committee in making sure that there was a website that we could go to. And there wasn't prior to, and that she was very, very instrumental in working with DOT to help us establish a website that we could go to that check.
Let's face it, the government is always trying to find revenue and raise taxes in whatever way, right? So I think squishing the tax on service, and that kept on coming up time and time again, and I think we were very successful in squishing that. So
For
that
the most part.
for the most part, right?
Now
yeah.
we do have tax on some stuff, but
Right.
the fact that they were wanting to tax our commission dollars again, after we pay income tax, they were wanting to tax the commission dollars again.
Right.
That was probably one of the bigger things that we were successful.
And that was not only, it wasn't self-serving as it may appear, but it was actually to help private property owners' rights, because that would only put more of a financial burden on them, because that has to be absorbed somehow. So I think it was a win-win for everyone.
Well, and now, if I'm not mistaken, we do have a tax on a lot of the services that are involved in the real estate transaction that have impacted our sellers and buyers, honestly, for their cost to get into home ownership. I was glad that we were able to kind of squelch the tax on commission
Right.
dollars.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's one of the main ones I was going to say too.
Yeah.
So, well, one of the things that I started in my year of leadership was the Presidents Award, and I think that has carried on throughout today. I think that was an important award, and Brenda Carroll got it the first year, and she really was a huge help and just a big supporter. Sometimes you just need a cheerleader, because there are things that happen that aren't so great, and it's just nice having somebody. Of course, Harriette did that a lot for me as well, but just having a cheerleader there that helps you through and motivates you to keep going is a really good thing. So I'd say Brenda was one of the ones that impacted me.
yeah, I'm going to look back to Carolyn Kansdorf again, because Carolyn was always one that was, come on, get involved, and then even once you got involved, she was like, come on, do more, and encouraging. So I would look back to Carolyn, and then the other person I'd look back to is Mary Edna.
I was going to
Oh,
say
yeah.
Mary
that as
Edna
well.
Williams,
Yeah.
because Mary Edna was always one that was embracing of you becoming involved however you could become involved.
Right.
So,
I remember Mary Edna would grab my hand and take me and introduce me to everybody at
Right.
the state level.
Yep.
She was that cheerleader as well. She
Yeah.
was somebody who facilitated relationships.
and then Myra Zollinger was one too. Now, while she was not always a primary member here, more in Chapel Hill, but at the state level, man, she would, and at the national
And the
level,
national level,
she'd
too.
be, pulling you by the hand and come meet this person and that person.
The first person that really got me was Mary Kay Pendergraft, who was my general sales manager, where Harry and I worked together. She was the one who initially encouraged me to take the Leadership Academy. And from there, I've mentioned his name a couple of times, but I'm going to refer back to Asa. Asa was kind of my cheerleader that really kind of as well introduced me to a lot of people, but kind of encouraged me to get involved. So it just kind of happened slowly. But I have to say, these two fine ladies were my biggest advocate. We traveled together. We kind of looked out for each other. We stuck along together, and so I definitely need a lot more help. So they got me through a lot of things, and we had some
Yeah,
fun
we
too.
could actually tell a few stories on that,
Yeah.
but anyway.
Yeah, we'll probably get enough tick for that. You just keep on going.
Yeah, right. Right.
We had a lot of Dairy Queen blizzards too
Yes.
on the road.
That was one of our traditions. We
And
had
that-
to
and
we had to
honestly-
find a Dairy Queen whenever we took a road trip.
That continues on even today, because I can remember Mark not too long ago
Yeah,
sending me a picture of a Dairy
Dairy
Queen.
Yeah.
Queen's like, yes,
Blizzards.
yeah.
Anyway, that, and let's just say that Mollie and I are better packers for trips
Yeah.
than Mark is, because Mark always had a tendency to go over his poundage limit at the airport.
My problem is I bought a bigger suitcase than I really needed. And I was like, oh, that'll fit. And I'll never forget the first time, I'm going to tell on myself, but the first time I traveled since COVID, I've always traveled but close with the kids and by car and everything, but this is the first time flying. And we get to the airport about 6 o'clock in the morning. We're going to New Orleans, and I show up with this big red suitcase, and they look at me, and I was probably about 20 pounds over. And here I was taking my pants and putting those in Mollie's, and that was to my shirts, and we were just like, put it this way, they helped me out. So
Yeah.
we got through it all, but some things had to be left in New Orleans. Let's just say that. So. But you know what? They've never let me forget that. And that
No,
was
we
probably-
won't ever let you forget it anyway.
That's right.
We won't, but we had a good time traveling together.
Yeah.
It was, and the camaraderie and the friendships that were formed during those times, you can't replace those.
Right.
You can't replace those.
I think that adds to both personal and career development. We go on work trips like that. I think that's important for any organization, but both, especially with members and some staff that have done that.
Well, it's a lot of travel during your presidential year and leading up to that. It's a lot of travel to conventions and things. And really, if you don't enjoy the people that you're with, you're not going to enjoy
Right.
those events very much. So that was critical.
I'm going to speak to one other person, and that's Betsy Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Betsy always made our trips so much fun. I mean,
She
she
did.
always put some kind of little theme behind things. And like, I never will forget the one year we were in San Francisco, and she had a king crown,
Right.
if you will, for Asa. And
Yeah.
honestly, and then that just kind of mushroomed, and every year there was something that went on, especially when we had our group dinners.
Oh yeah.
Something would always appear that would be a fun thing
Right.
for us to, a tradition that kept moving forward for a while, all the way to Mollie giving me angel wings.
That's
Right.
right.
Yeah. And those angel wings kind of traveled with me for a while. So
I think you just learn how that leadership means service to others. And like Harriette said, it's when you're in it for the right reasons and you really want the best for the association, for the members, for all of your friends on the board of directors. When you really all work together, I think you realize that when you're in a leadership position, it is really just a position of service. And I think that has been something that I have tried to have throughout my career in anything that I've done, just to know that you're serving others when you're in the leadership role, and people have chosen you for that reason.
Right.
I would say that, and it's about collaboration with one another. You might not always agree with what the outcome is when you sit in the boardroom, but when you come out of the boardroom, it's a united voice.
Right.
And then the other thing that I would say is it's about the relationships, period. I think it's just about the relationships and that's something that I've taken forward with my daily life, is forming the relationships with people when you do enjoy being around the people that you're with, then your life is just so much better.
I think one thing it taught me more than anything was to be patient and listen more than you talk. Because when you're in a position of leadership, and I think you both articulated it very, very well, but when you're in leadership, people come to you and they rely on you, and they have their own opinion or their own agenda, and not everyone's the same. Everyone's got different agendas, different goals and aspirations. But just to listen to them and hear what they're saying, and then understand where they're coming from, and then try to find a way to articulate a solution to whatever that may be. And I've taken that back to my office when I was a manager. I think it helped me be a better leader as a manager, but now today as a realtor, it's helped me be a better realtor to kind of just listen and be patient. And ultimately, we're going to figure it out. Well, I think we do a pretty good job. We could always do it a little bit better. Everything can be done a little bit better, but just continue to advocate for people to get involved. And if we can do that, it'll help the association, but more importantly, it'll help our members. And we mentioned it earlier on, there are a lot of people that don't even know that we exist here. So I think just being a promoter of Raleigh Regional Association of Realtors and everything that we provide, if we can do that, then we'll continue to succeed and be a bigger, better association going forward.
I think our industry as a whole has its challenges today, certainly. But I also think that we as an association need to do a little bit better job of explaining who we are to the general public and what we do. I would love to see us do a much, much better job of articulating what it means to be a realtor and what is the role that we play in helping people to accomplish home ownership. But honestly, at the core of who we are, I think that if you ask the majority of realtors why they do what they want to do is, and it's to help people accomplish the dream of home ownership, aid in that process, and make it easier to just pave the pathway a little smoother for people to be able to do that.
Real quick, I do want to follow up one thing Mark said. When a realtor comes to interview and says, what is this association that I pay my dues for, but what is it when they, even if they've been a realtor for 12, 15 years, and they're active members technically, but not active members. What do you say to other realtors who don't really know much about the association?
A lot of times I just brought them with me.
Yeah.
You know, it was a little easier when I was a manager because I was in front of a lot of people and I could, I brought a lot of the value from the association back to them, and then when they saw that, like, wow, there's a lot, so they got involved that way. But we've got a new generation of agents getting into the business. It used to be somewhat elderly. When I got in, I was 30 and I was probably the youngest baby.
Yeah.
I know. But I think there's a new generation of agents getting in that are much younger. We need to get them involved at an early age. And if we can do that, I think that'll set up for a lifelong career in real estate because they'll benefit, and so will the association.
Well, I think I've mentioned before too my involvement with professional standards, and I do think that, we're one of the few self-policing organizations, and so I'm going to go to the Code of Ethics and say, doing business the right way and treating each other the right way and living by the Code of Ethics. I just think that a lot of people don't even put any kind of emphasis on that. But there's also so many educational opportunities and ways to learn to grow your business, and the majority of them free, that if you would just darken the doors here every now and then, or join on a Zoom or meeting of some kind. I always said to my agents, if you can just go to a meeting or go to a session and learn one thing that will put one more deal in your pocket, and it's not going to cost you anything, why wouldn't you go do it?
Right.
And so I just feel that we bring a lot of opportunities that are not captured by our membership that could make a difference in their lives.
I think our banner sums it up perfectly. Empowering realtor success.
Yeah.
Those 3 words. That's what this association is all about. And all of the programs and all of the councils and committees, everything is geared towards empowering realtor success. So I think that is probably the easiest way to say it to somebody is, if you want somebody whose sole purpose is to help you be successful in this business, then you need to get involved at the association.
Absolutely.
Or at least take advantage of what's being offered by the association, because like I said, there's so many educational opportunities that could make a difference.
Right.
I think that's a pretty good way to wrap it up right there.